And it begins. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back to Your Journey, a podcast where we take very specific topics and we give our perspective on it. So, to just help you on this incredible journey called life, right? My name is Katarina.
My name is Sabrina.
And
Today we're going to talk about fear, which is a huge topic. Like we were trying to write down notes on it, but it's like too vast. So we're just going to wing it and talk about it because it's like appears in every single instance of your life, every single step of your life. There is fear that is to be reckoned with, to be faced, to be like dealt with, and it's in all like areas of our lives, like as in our personal lives and outside, like politics and religion and media. So it's like, how do we begin the topic? But we will, because that's what we do.
well, we can first start by starting with how fear affected us. How did fear affect you? How did you realize that you were? Well, I mean, how about we talk about how fear is drenched in absolutely everything,
Mm-hmm.
in every moment and every step you take inside and outside your home. You're probably drenched in some kind of fear. I mean, the media is a perfect example where it's just fear bonanza, fear galore.
I mean, it's only fear media.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no other reason for media.
And very little. And
I think it's just done for fear purposes.
oh yeah, 100%.
Like, oh my God, don't cross the street, don't do this. Oh my God, there's fire, there's war, there's hate, there's anger, there's racism, there's this. And then people are like, oh, let me just stay inside my whole life, you know?
I'm not gonna live.
I'm not gonna go visit that place because there's a big war going on, which is probably a big lie, but maybe it's working. I don't know.
I mean, it's discernment, right? At the end of the day, you want to be discerning, especially when it comes to what you hear in the media. I mean, the media has been controlled for centuries.
Since the beginning of media.
Yeah. And like, I mean, what is the whole purpose of media, technically speaking? To give you the news? Maybe once upon a time, maybe there was that objective, sincere.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I mean,
because when I think about like
stem from it.
Yeah, I think about like the landing of the moon that never really happened in my mind. Like it's like fake, right?
I don't know. I can't like, that's the thing with the media, you never know. Everything could be a lie. Everything. And in this day and age, anything is possible. That's the way I see it. Absolutely.
I feel like we're when you get to a certain part of this journey, you start to see through the illusion so deeply that you're like, oh my God, everything is a lie, right? Everything. So then where do you go from there? Like, do you just, because it's challenging. And so that's where fear arises in every moment of your life. Like we can go back to fear at the beginning of our time. You're born into fear. Like, don't touch the stove, don't touch the thing. Like your parents try to like control your energies, like control your movement, and you're like, oh my God, I'm not going to touch the stove ever again because I'm afraid of the stove, right? Don't, like, it's like, and then it goes into education. I mean, we could talk about all the fear is all encompassing of our life. And it's this fear of failure, the fear of not being loved. So I'm going to go into a relationship. I'm going to stay in that relationship, even if it's not going well. I'm just going to stay in the relationship because, it's that fear. False evidence appearing real. That's the acronym of fear. It's not real. And yet we feed on it. Our energy, like we were talking about, is like if you're in a car accident, let's say, yes, of course, there's like that moment of fear that shows up. It's not like, oh, this is just an illusion. It's a lie. It's okay. I got hit by a car. Ha ha ha. No, there is that moment of fear that shows up, right? That
real fear, like the real
survivor mode fear. But it's in the aftermath that where it changes. I think if you're a little bit more aware, right? I feel like fear, vulnerability, everything that we've talked about, it's all about awareness.
Yeah.
if we like are fully aware of the fact that, oh, I'm like, I just moved into fear right now. But if I'm fully aware, I'm like, okay, what am I really afraid of? Like, I'm afraid of what? Like, like, why am I falling into this illusion, or why am I falling for this? And I think that's the key of all obstacles, all blockages that we experience as humans.
The key to life
is awareness.
It's being present in that moment and being honest with yourself too, right? Being honest and being like, oh, what am I really afraid of? Why am I really staying in this relationship? What am I really afraid of? I'm afraid of not being loved because I actually don't love myself. So
it's like, it's a limited belief system. And fear is like found in religion, it's found in politics, it's found in a lot of the systems of the society to keep us in the box, right? To keep us following the leaders, right? Following whatever that is, but it's to keep us from our power. That's what fear is, right? It's like, yet you are these powerful beings of light that come into these vessels, and yet we don't want you to know that. We need you to collectively herd you into like these programmings, so that you don't, like, I speak to people sometimes, and like I spoke to one person, I won't tell you what role that he is in my life. He said to me, why don't you just follow the way the world works? And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, why would I want to follow the world? Well, because then you'd be like everybody else. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding. I don't want to be like everybody else. Like, I don't even understand why you're even bringing this up. But that's like a big part of people, of humans. That it's like, oh my God, no. This is what the government told us to do. So we're going to follow that, because then what? Everyone's going to think we're crazy, or everyone's going to like object. It's like, I don't know. Fear is scary, which is the synonymous, but
it will activate the fight or flight. It will activate your nervous system for sure. But I like, just to touch base on what you were talking about in terms of regardless of how it stemmed out, whether it's a subconscious or consciously, everything is set up to control us. It doesn't even matter at this point. The way I see it is just, can you question the fear? Can you question just stepping outside of the box and why it would actually be scary to step outside the box? Is it because you're afraid of being shunned? Is it because you're afraid of being unloved? Or is it because you're afraid that you won't be good enough if you actually do this thing? The belonging is a big one. We have these core. I do believe we're stepping away from these specific labels and these specific ways of thinking about society, thinking about humanity. And we keep seeing neuroscientists are saying this and scientists are saying this. And I do believe there is a mathematical equation. I do believe it's connected. Everything is connected. And yet on the same time, we're stepping away from these old paradigms. We're stepping away from these old ways of thinking, these old ways of restricting ourselves. And fear for a very long time has been used to restrict us. Used to restrict us from not stepping in or following your dreams or following the main thing that you've been wanting to do, right? So it's just like, at this point,
I almost find that fear is compounded, because we step into the awareness, and then there's another fear that pops up, like, oh, like it's a never-ending loop. And it's like, it always like it always stems back to discernment and awareness. And it's in that moment where, like, I feel like every human needs to be responsible and accountable for themselves in how they respond to fear, and how they respond to that person talking to me, how they like. And it's like, it's not like reprimanding a responsibility. It's like stepping into that awareness of like, oh, like, and laughing at it, like we've always talked about it, laughing at the fear, laughing at like, why am I afraid? Like, I don't know. I don't. It's just it's a lot. It's just a lot bigger than this, because it's just when you fully, not, because you can never fully understand. Like I can see this life as an illusion. I see it and I'm like, oh my God, it's a freaking illusion. But I still live as a human in this illusion. And so yes, I still like face the fears and face the failures and face the unlovingness and face it all, right? Every single moment of the day. But it's in the how we approach it. And that's where, like, I always say to people, like, the energy you get, like, yesterday I was sitting around a table and they started talking about politics, and I got up and I left, because it's not because I didn't want to, first of all, I don't want to engage in it, because I don't want to give my energy to that topic. So when you give an energy to a topic, it builds more fear within others, like, oh my God, it's gonna be the end of the world if that leader gets into power. And then, like, and I laugh, because you guys are just following a narrative, like
feeding into it. Also,
you're feeding into it, and like you and it's funny, I always talk about it. I'm of Italian origin, and and she's Croatian, so we have this European like thing. You go into like the department store sometime, or like where malls, and you see Italian men or European men like yelling about politics, and it's funny, but it's like useless, really. It's funny to watch it, and I enjoy it, but it's like you're just feeding this energy and you're keeping it alive. You're keeping this low vibration alive. And it's like we keep the wars going because we keep talking about it, and it's awful. We need to end it. So like it's like you're not doing anything proactive. You're just talking low vibration energy coming out of your mouth, and you're not doing anything about it, right? So like why feed that energy? You're feeding the fear. And it's building up. You feed the fear. Fear loves to remain in the grids, right? But if you don't feed the fear, it dissolves like everything else.
Yeah, if you don't feed it the storylines, right? It can't do anything. It just runs its course. A lot of the times it runs its course, and then halas. But
it's like media, how they oh my God, it's like a fear-based, always a fear-based something, and it's like they push it on us, and then all of a sudden it's gone. Oh, it's gone. It all disappears, because they're like,
new topic.
It's like this fear. One is losing its legs, and they're not really that afraid of it anymore.
They're too what's the word? Sensitive, or when you have the image that comes up too often, and then you get numb by the image or numb by the storyline. So it's like, oh, let's switch it up. Let's get that dopamine hit, the adrenaline hit. So to me, are you able to take a step back, right? Because everything is a reflection of our internal state, the collective internal state. And the collective internal state right now is fear. Or else we wouldn't be having all these wars. We wouldn't be having all of these things going on. Mother Earth is just a reflection of what we are going through, every single one, in this collective state. So if you catch yourself, and that's the harder part, is catching ourselves when we're talking about these fears. But when you do catch yourself, can you take a step back and just ask yourself that question? It's, how is this reflecting? Like, what about this fear, one, am I truly afraid of? Is it this fear of not existing, right? Because that was a big one for me. This fear of like, what happens if I don't exist? Who am I? And it all stems down to the masks that we hold on to, and these illusions that the storylines that we're like so attached to. So why are we holding on to all of these attachments, really? Because we're afraid that we will disappear.
That we're nothing.
Because
we are.
Because technically that would be wrong. And it'll be like, why is that wrong?
Well, what's the point of this?
What, like, exactly. That was a big one for me. And it still haunts me. It still comes back sometimes and creeps up. So like, what's the point? Like, what's the whole point of all this? And the whole point is that we're not supposed to know. That's
And
the
the point
message.
is to enjoy the experience
The point is probably just
without
to
thinking.
yeah, to live every single moment, and this comes with the fear too. Can you just live it and love it to death? I mean, we talk about this all the time, but fear is fear is the opposite of love, which we're going to talk about next week also. But it's the opposite of love, and it's like you can't have one without the other too, if you think about it.
No,
You
it's
can't
a
have
polarity, right? It doesn't work
yeah.
without each other. But fear is always like everything else comes down to trust.
Yes.
I think that's the core. Like we talk about awareness and discernment, but trusting. And I'm going to bring up
Yeah.
religion, which could be triggering to many, but it is what it is. Religion is like you not trusting yourself because you need a God, a Jesus, a Buddha, an Allah, or whatever it is. You need a priest, a rabbi. You need someone else that you think that you deem higher than you to guide you in your life, but you don't. And that's like, I almost find it insulting to God, the energy, consciousness, the higher consciousness, because it's like, yo, man, you're it. And you're needing to create this like fake persona, right? Because it's a fake persona. Like, why can't you believe that you're the one who can walk on water? Why can't you believe that you could the one who can like feed a whole bunch of people or whatever he did, break his bread and whatever? Why can't you believe that you're that? But you have to give this power away to another because you're afraid of what people are going to think. Oh my God, they're going to think I am like better than everybody. They're going to think that I am. Sometimes when I say these like videos, I get some comments too, like, who do you think you are? And I'm like, I don't know. Who do you think you are? I don't really care. Like, I'm not even Sabrina. I'm playing this role right now. I'm learning this human experience. I'm learning to be human.
Learning how to trust, learning how to love deeper, trust deeper.
I'm
Trust is a
learning.
big one.
I'm learning to go up against fear. I'm learning again to go up against like guilt and unworthiness. And I had a wardrobe meltdown just before this freaking video. I think I changed 1,000 times because I'm like I don't feel good about myself, and that's like stupidities, right? If you think about it,
It's part of the process, though.
Yeah,
It's part of detaching. Again, it comes back
It's
to
like-
the detaching of like, okay, but who cares, right? Why is it so important to look good, to this, to that? And just to go back with the religion, something came to mind where it's like a lot of the times I've noticed that some people they attach themselves to religion because they actually don't want to take responsibility for their actions. Oh, we'll leave it to God. I'll leave it to this. I'll leave it to that. Instead of like, no, but you are God. So it's technically your responsibility and you just don't want to own up to the responsibility. And therefore you're leaving it up to God because it's just easier. Or maybe not. Maybe it's harder for you to actually admit the things that are happening or the turmoil or the emotions or the guilt and the shame. And you can't admit it. So you have to turn outside of you to.
That's interesting. You're leaving it to God to help you when it's you. It's just you. Like, why can't you like? But to me, the funny thing is, why can't you see yourself as this beautiful,
as God sees us,
warrior?
You know,
the strength. And I mean, God, like I have a hard time with God. Like God is not a like. There's like in the religion, God is man. Are you for real? Like God is consciousness. Is like energy. It's like it's just energy. It's not like a thing, a person, right? So it's like, but why do we need like the thing is that like I respect your religion and I respect your spirituality, whatever, but it's the church that the problem here is that they're the ones who's instilled the fear, and that's all their inquisitions and all their like killings of people, and it was justified, which made no sense to me. Every time I was like the Spanish Inquisition, they killed thousands of people. Justifyingly, you kill someone of another religion, like it doesn't make sense.
But again, it's not taking responsibility.
I know, but
that's
it's like it's just the whole thing is like it doesn't make sense. Like how you're an all forgiving being, a supreme being. So like I have my grandmother who's gone now, and she was very, very religious, and she would come to me with this most absurd like ideas, like you can't be gay and get married, at that time. And I was like, first of all, like What's it to you? And second of all, God loves all. Yes? I would ask for questions. God loves everybody? Yes. So whether they're gay or heterosexual, it's okay, right? Yes. I said, so if they get married, what's it to you and what's it to God? Yes, but it's blasphemous. But
But who decides that? You know?
like the
Who
church
decides that?
decided that, wrote that down. Like, first of all, it goes against the whole ideology of religion, which is love, forgiveness. And anyways, I can go on and on about this, but it's like it never ever
See how
made sense.
passionate you're getting. I love it.
It never ever made sense to me. I just don't even understand like how they could be. And they're so like, I don't know. You cannot hate another for religion, for anything. You cannot hate if you believe in God because you believe in unconditional love. And fear was brought on by these systems and to create people, make them feel small and feel helpless and hate other people. How does hate and like it doesn't make sense?
And yet, on the same time, I wonder, is the hate there and the fear there so people could technically learn how to overcome it and be stronger? And that's why fear is there. Like, what is the real purpose of fear? It could be that. Because to every hero, you need an anti hero to lift that hero up, right? Or else the hero is never going to grow, it's never going to be challenged. So I almost wonder, what's the purpose of fear? The purpose is to have people overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be stronger, so it could step into their greatness and not fall victim to their fears. The whole purpose of it is to not fall victim of it. But so far, we have a society that rewards falling into your fears practically, falling into your
yes.
falling into your comforts, falling into the box, right? Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't think it's good or bad, but I do think that if you can step out of that fear, step out of that box and really, really
The comfort
overcome
zone.
it, yeah. Your greatness is what this world needs. Everybody's so unique, designed so differently for a reason. And every single being on this planet has something to offer. It's just unfortunate that the fear is keeping us. And I'm talking about myself too. I have moments too where I still have fear. And my whole energy, my whole being, the Scorpio in me just wants to stay in my comfort zone. Stubborn. So stubborn. And it's just a question of, can you relax a little more into trying something new?
Or loving fear.
Loving it, yeah.
Like loving it for what it is. Because I thinking about the fear of the relationship of fear in relationships. Like the fear, like it comes in so many forms, in like I need to be with someone in a relationship, or I'm single and I'm going to stay single and I'm not afraid, but you don't have to say these things. Like we don't have to say that I'm not afraid to be single. I'm not afraid to to me, when you say I'm not afraid, you are. I noticed that when I said that once before, like a few months ago, I said, I'm not afraid to die. I'm like, why am I saying that? Who cares? Why am I saying it out loud? When I said it out loud, I said, if you're saying it out loud, Sabina, like I'm talking to my character, it means that you are afraid because you don't have to explain to somebody that you're not afraid.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So it's like almost like you're convincing yourself of something.
You're trying to convince yourself, yeah.
But it's like,
so why do you need convincing?
I don't know. It's like an interesting. I feel like fear can go on forever.
It can, because there's so many layers, right? And I mean,
but you brought up something interesting. Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. You said fear nowadays is more psychological than it used to be physical.
Yeah,
and I kind of find that interesting. So explain that.
Yeah, just because back in the days it was a very fight or flight situation in terms of your your physical body is in actual danger, right? There was a saber-tooth tiger or that comes and attacks you, or a bear comes and attacks you, and then obviously you need those fear. That fear is designed to get that adrenaline rush to push your blood so you could fight or flight. But nowadays we're in constant stress, constant psychological stressors, like the traffic on the road, the guy who cut you off. Oh my God, don't hit the biker. You go to work. The work is like you have deadlines. You have the coworker that's just not really nice. You have the High School Musical that's playing in the background. That's just like there's always something going on. And it's almost like our nervous system hasn't fully adapted, or we haven't found tools or aren't incorporating tools to really unplug from these stressors. So then our bodies, our physical bodies, are in constant chronic stress and always turned on, always
because it's like
lit up.
It's interesting. That's good. Because it's like the fear of is like because you're always comparing yourself.
That's a big one.
It's a big comparison zone. Fear not of having enough money, but according to who? Like because that celebrity has like makes $1 million or $10 million.
Yeah, social media is another one.
And like
seriously.
Fear of like why like why do we have to be making a certain amount of money a year for everyone to be feel like, you know, it's like there's never enough for people, you know, like we're never feeling like we're enough.
The hungry ghost.
Yeah, and we are enough. I don't know.
We're enough because we are. And yet, yes, we're still living in this 3D reality where you need some money to feed yourself and feed your family and, you know, get to work, get to the places. So for me, it's more like what kind of tools and what can you do to really calm the nervous system once you're back home? And where I was going at with this too. No, it's fine. Where I was going with this too is that at a certain point, your body, whether you like it or not, the stress is going to create a chemical reaction in your body, and your body could actually become addicted to this chronic stress to the point where it bypasses the brain and sends out memories if it's not in that chronic stress. Perfect example. I was working in a corporate industry, and at a point, I was crying every single day and I didn't understand why. I was just like chronically stressed and anxious all the time. And when I went to the doctor, just like, oh, you're going through a burnout. And I was like, a what? And you just realize like, wow, okay, I'm going to a burnout. So they give me 2 months off. I get home. It takes me 3 weeks to get my nervous system in a relaxed state because my body was so used to getting up super early, getting to work, working 8 to 9 hours, being stressed, being worried, people, colleagues, clients, and this and that. So my body, when I wasn't anymore in that environment, still thought it was in that environment, or even not worse or better, but my body was addicted to that chronic stress. So when I would be on my couch resting and rejuvenating, I had feelings of guilt and shame, and memories would come up just to make me more anxious and stressed until my body, after 3 weeks, was like, oh, okay, no, she's not in danger. She's no longer in stress. She's no longer feeling it. But 3 weeks. And that's also because I didn't have really the tools. I didn't really understand what's going on. I only understood when I was resting. I was like, oh, wow, like 2 to 3 weeks it took me to really calm my nervous system to its like natural homeostasis like state. So think about that. Think about like when after you finish this video, how do you feel? Do you feel
like
stressed?
But also when fear appears, are you aware of it? And how does it show up? Like, does it affect your nervous system? Is it come like with a tightness in your chest? Does it come with like you want to cry? Like, how does it appear? Because it appears like differently for every single person. 100%. And it's like, and I was just thinking about this because I'm thinking about my nieces and nephews. You know that you have younger ones. I have 20-year-olds, and they're all in school. And I feel like fear is something that we walk into into education, and education is synonymous with fear, right? So like fear of not having, like you have to have like
Those
the
grades.
star,
Yeah.
you know, you didn't get the star, so you're a loser. So you're like, you know, it's like
It's so
you know, it's
true.
true. Like, oh, the
Yeah.
A and oh, the B is like you're terrible, and like it's like this feeling like you come into school like afraid of everything.
Yeah.
Afraid of speaking in the public, in front of the class, because they're going to make fun of you because you don't understand, because people are going to make fun of you anyways, and it's just like a constant. So you do all these years of
Yeah.
education and fear based,
Yeah.
and then you get into the career and you're still afraid of not being good enough.
You know what's interesting? That you have. Were you done? Your
No, but
point?
continue.
No, it's okay.
No, I was just gonna say it's until, that's why I feel like people on the spiritual journey, and it's almost like people that are like past the work, like who have done it all kind of thing, that can come into this like moment. I'm not saying everybody, obviously you could be young and watching this and doing this, but there is a certain, and I'm not a age person, but there is a, like you've experienced that you can look back and say, ah, yes, I experienced fear to the nth degree. And now I can like step out of it and become more of an observer of it.
It's almost like a liberation once you actually realize it. You free yourself.
So you were saying
just by the awareness of it.
Mhm.
I was just saying that it's not all educational systems. You have some that are aware that it's based completely absurdly. It's not designed for the individual child. It's really designed to create almost like a
like an
factory.
army.
Yeah.
An army of robots.
But like the Waldorf school, I'm not saying it properly, but there's a couple of schools like that have completely understood that don't grade a fish on how well it could climb a tree, right? Because you can't. It's two different worlds. So they have their own programs, and some of them can be a little more expensive, but it's definitely worth looking into because it's already splurge a little more, or you know what, just take your kids to the forest. You know, just take them to the forest and have them learn what they have to learn. But what I wanted to add, is World War II, when Hitler actually took over, one of the first things he did, because the Waldorf school started in Germany, one of the first things he did was completely shut all those schools down and redesign the educational system. Because he said, if you give me a child from 0 to 7 years old, I could have it do whatever I want, basically. So that's the first thing that he did. One of the first things, I'm sure he did other stuff. One of the first things he did is he attacked the educational systems for children, basically. So that's a hard pill to swallow. And it could be scary. And we're not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to scare you here. But it is something to be aware of.
I mean, it technically, like, where we're headed is like education is not necessary,
especially not now,
because like, and it's still that like, yes, it was interesting yesterday where I was talking about with my sister and my stepmother, we're talking about AI, right? The fear of AI. Like I speak to so many people and they're like, oh my god, AI is taking over, we're going to become robots, and I said, listen, if you feed that energy of fear into AI, yes, you will become a robot, because you're constantly feeding the fear. You're like, oh my God, because that's the media. Remember, the media is like, AI is taking over, we're becoming robots, ChatGPT, everything is like this. And I said, why don't you approach it differently? Like I approach it completely differently. I said, okay, AI exists. It is what it is. But I'm such a far more evolved like light being that AI is like nothing to me. And I really feel it deep down in my soul that it's okay. It's a step that has to be taken for humanity. But if you don't feed the energy of AI, then you're not part of it. Like to me, then they were talking about, well, AI is taking over the jobs, you know, like you don't have to be a lawyer anymore. And I was like, okay, so may AI take over doctors and lawyers and teachers and retail clerks, and may it take it over. But can you be creative enough to fucking create a new industry? That's where we're at. And this is, I feel like AI is giving you the opportunity to create and be creative again. Create something new. Maybe we have to go back to skilled workers. I don't know. Like there's like so much. There's opportunity in fear that we don't take because we just like become like lost in the box, right? Lost in that roboticism. We're lost in the I cannot speak. I'm gonna talk. I'm not, like I don't know. I feel like we need to find opportunity in every blockage that we have in our lives.
Every fear
And
has a gift.
see it
Yeah.
and see it as a gift.
Yeah, every
Say,
fear has a
okay,
gift.
let's
Exactly.
let me not feed this energy. Let me laugh at it. Let me have fun with it. Let me love it. And let me do something else with it.
And it's also when you come, just to clarify what Sabrina means in terms of energy, everything is energy. We are 99.999% energy. We're a very small.
Yeah.
We're a very small. Wait. I'm just giving Sabrina some
Thank
more
you.
water. We're a very small percentage of matter. So whatever you give your energy to, it just feeds it. Because
Makes it grow.
energy is just information, right? So I completely agree in terms of if you don't, everything's a reflection of who we are. So if you don't want to see that thing, stop talking about it. Start talking about the things that you do want to see, you do want to create, and start creating them. Again, it's about taking responsibility. Taking responsibility. You won't have as much fear if you start taking responsibility and owning up to the things that you can do instead of the things, and instead of focusing on the things that you can't do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
like I always say, people complain like about politics, this and that. I'm like, okay, but why don't you change it? Like, well, I can't change it, Sabina, but you can complain about it for like 20 hours in a day. Like, I'm not saying to change that leadership, but like create your own, like do something about it, right? Like
be the
in
example.
your own life.
Be the example, exactly.
That's what it would lead by example, like the hermit card of the tarot is lead by example. Can you do that? And it's not by you like look at me, look what I'm doing, and that's not it.
It could be simple little
steps towards whatever
actions.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, I don't know. I feel this fear is such a crippling.
It's a crush. It's a crutch from getting us to do what we want to do. It's it gets us to go slower towards it, and sometimes
or stalls us, or like doesn't even get us. It gets us sedentary.
And there is purpose of it. It is there sometimes to protect you, and it's not to go against the fear. And that's what we're trying to say. Don't go against it. Use it. Use it as a tool to get you excited. Use it as a tool to just have fun with it a little. Okay, I'm afraid, but let me still take this action and see what happens. Okay, I'm afraid, but let me just do this one thing and see what happens, and confront it a little, day by day, step by step, action by action, and see how drastically your life could change within a couple of days. And if you need to revert, if you need to take a step back because it's too scary, do it, but then keep moving forward.
Yeah,
don't let it paralyze you.
Yeah, awareness, like be aware of the fear. Don't brush it aside. Don't bury it. This is what we do. We bury it. No, I'm not afraid.
Yeah,
use it. I'm not. Like, but instead of going, yeah, and you know what, this is like a big thing. Be honest. Are you afraid? Yes, I am.
And that's okay.
Oh my God, what do you mean? Like, and if like, don't be like me trying to find the reason to be like, an explanation. It does no, like, just be afraid. And when you are able to like face it, like we were talking about, and love it as a friend, it dissolves.
Yeah,
like it just automatically dissolves. Because fear is,
or a good part of it does.
It does mostly. It won't ever show up. Like if you're more at peace with yourself, fear can't exist, right? Because it has no legs to stand on.
Has no attachments anymore. You're not attaching yourself to the outcome. that the fear is probably based, or the illusion, or the label, the mask that you put yourself, that pedestal that you try to keep yourself at. There's no pedestal anymore, so there's nothing to fear. The fall, there's nothing to fall from anymore.
So where does fear show up in your life?
Yeah.
You know, like, is it like, how many times a day do you face fear? Like, you know, some people like will face it 20 times in a day, 100 times in a day. And it's in that awareness of that 100 times that it dissipates and begins to dissolve, because you're like, it's like the fear is like ego, right? You're standing up to your ego. You're like, hey, I see you. I know what you're trying to do. And you can have fun with it. Like, that's what I started doing. And now I have less and less of it, because now it's just fun. I'm like, I see you. No, out of here. Like, you know, and it's like, but why am I afraid? And I like, you have to think about it. It's not to like dwell on it and attach to it, but it's to like
just face it, go through it,
and understand it. Like we talk a lot about this too, like going back a little bit and seeing where it was you were afraid. Like, you know, at 7 years old, did this happen to you? And maybe just loving that 7-year-old self with the fear, right? And watching how it, like, you know, going back to every single moment you were afraid, and loving it and feeling it and letting it go. And that's how we dissolve these energies, and it doesn't become a part of you, right?
You're actually transmuting. That's the whole point. That's how you transmute, and eventually you won't even have to think about it anymore. It's just going to happen automatically, because it's going to become a second nature, like a reflex, a way for your nervous system to calm down, because it's just going to take the fear, it's going to love it, it's going to appreciate it, turn it into excitement maybe, and you're going to take action that's going to probably go against it or dissolve it to that point. And it doesn't even have to be an action. It could be just you sitting down in stillness and silence, where that transmute, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel the tension. You're going to acknowledge it, appreciate it, have compassion for it, and you're going to feel the tension. The biggest question that I ask myself is, what's wrong with being afraid, right? What's wrong with it? So what if I'm afraid? There's nothing wrong with me if I'm afraid. There's nothing wrong with the situation if there's fear, you know? So, yeah.
Because it's like looked upon as like, oh, you're afraid? Yeah. Like, no, like.
And that's, you can apply that to everything. Like, oh, you're afraid of looking stupid. So what if you look stupid? Who cares?
Exactly. That's it. So what if you look stupid?
Yeah.
So what if they don't love you right now? So what if they don't like you? Yeah. So what? It doesn't matter. You're not here to appease to people.
No.
You're here to love yourself
100%.
and trust yourself. And it all begins with you.
And the right people are going to come.
Yeah. And it all kind of like fades away. I know that a lot of you who watch this are understanding what we're saying, because we're all on this journey together. And it's like, slowly it just like becomes unimportant. And it's like we were talking about last week, I think, about it gets boring, right? Like life becomes boring, like nothing, but it's like really
art of nothing.
That.
And to be okay with the boredom, you know, to be okay with the fear, to not, as soon as you stop resisting it, you stop feeding into it, you stop giving it energy. And it might not be easy the first couple of times, but it does get easier. It will get easier.
And pay attention to like the external, you know, that what like politics, religion, media, social media, TV, movies, whatever it is that brings up fear within you, pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And like literally like try to understand a little bit more there so that you can release it.
And pay attention to what you are feeding your body. Is it the media? Is it always the news? No wonder you are always afraid to step outside the door. Be very mindful of the things that you're feeding your mind, your emotion, your physical. That's going to be very important too, right? Is it your fear, or is it the fear that you can force feed?
Yeah.
By people, places, things, and even conversations, right? Who are you more likely to talk about these fear-induced subjects, this drama, the gossip? All that is all, even gossip. If you're talking about gossip, no wonder you're going to be afraid of talking with people, because you're like, I gossip. So for sure they're going to, you know what I mean? It's like, pay attention to the things that you do, things that you feed, and the things that come out of your mouth, or just things that you are doing.
Yeah, and what you're afraid of, because it's all a mirror, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you're afraid of is something that's really deep inside of you that needs to be cleared.
And the best way to clear is not to feed it more fear. So sometimes you just need to disconnect from all that. And you'll see a drastic shift within a couple of weeks, a couple of days, probably, even probably a couple of hours. If you really mind yourself, I'm not going to watch any social media, any news for the next 24 hours. You're going to probably feel the shift right away. I'm not going to talk to this person because I'm always, talking about bad news, and don't talk to that person for a week and see how different you feel in your body. So I guess, like, the takeaways, you made a good one. What was it again? You had to ask a question about fear.
I asked them what they are afraid of and how to
They
recognize it and stand in the awareness of it. Yeah.
And then the other one would be how to discern what fears. I can't read what I said there.
How can you get in tune with yourself to not dip into fear, right? So how can you it's all basically the same idea. It's like the awareness of fear, like to stand in the awareness of fear. And how can you,
what kind of tools could you use?
Yeah.
Can you meditate? Can you sit? Even if you can't meditate, can you just sit down and do nothing for 5 minutes?
And are you able also to step away from fear?
Yeah. Are you able to say no to the people, places, and things that really induce the fear inside you, that feed the fear inside you, right? Can you cultivate discernment in regards to your fears? Is it a real fear? Like, if I don't leave this place, am I going to get hit by a car? Like, is it a real fear, or is it a psychological fear that has been planted for years on years on years? How can you discern? What tools can you use to discern? For me, it was always meditation, because that's when the storylines would come up, and that's when I could actually just sit with it and love them and just appreciate them, or try to appreciate them. I don't always appreciate them, but at least have compassion for them, right? I see you. Okay, you're afraid of this. That's okay. What am I really afraid of? I'm afraid of dipping into people pleasing again. So I'm afraid of compromising myself, my truth, my authenticity. Okay, that's it. There's nothing wrong with that. So sitting with it and just reassuring yourself, holding that space for yourself, supporting yourself, for me has always been a big, big, big game changer. And there's
fear of the unknown. We forgot about that one. That was like a big one.
I mean, we talked
about
a little bit in the beginning, but yeah, the fear is a big. The fear of the unknown comes back to the fear. Well, not the fear, but it comes back to not trusting.
Mm-hmm.
If you're afraid of the unknowns because you don't trust yourself, probably because you've been disappointed on some of the decisions. So that's a part of yourself that needs probably your attention and love at that moment. The trusting, can't trust the universe, again, probably because you've been disappointed with the universe, and
which is yourself,
which is technically based on your decision making, most probably.
If you're not trusting, so it's all like that. The next episode we'll be talking about the mirrors. No, next is love.
Next is love,
and then we'll do mirrors.
But I would like to also know what kind of tools that you guys have, some that you can offer us. Is there any tools that you use to discern fear, or to see it, or to sit with it, or have compassion for it? Like, what are the tools? Do you watch romantic comedies? Do you watch comedies? How do you laugh at fear or laugh with it? Right? I need help too. So help us out over here.
All right.
I think that's good.
That's good. Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let us know in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe. I mean, you don't have to, but it's always fun to see your comments. And always
you have to. What are you talking about? We need, it helps our channel, people. It doesn't take much. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Seriously, dudes. Come on, man. Anyways.
We're gonna guilt trip you.
We're gonna fear you. We're gonna make you fear us.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
We're gonna see you next week, most probably. I can't reach that. You're gonna have to
All right.
reach it for me.
Love you guys. What am I doing?
Ciao. You're gonna put the screen lower, down to the right, that last button.
This one?
Yeah. No, theater.
This one?
Yeah, but you have to press this side. Let it go. Stop pressing. Go.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Mine's mirrored.
Got it. Bye.